Can you all hear me? Okay. All right. So before I start, I just want to do a quick survey of the room to find out how many of you are designers, UX people? Anybody? Oh, good. Oh, good. I see some hands. And I think I know this because I saw the coding, but how many of you are engineers? Okay, lots of women. Yay. And then other things. What and curious as to what they are. Can you guys throw it out there? What else? Product management.
Project management.
Mm-hmm.
Data science.
Say that again.
Data science.
Data science.
All of the above.
All of the above. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, welcome. I'm so excited to be talking to you all. This is a special presentation for me for two reasons. One is I'm very used to getting up and talking about user experience design. It's my passion, it's my career in my field. I'm not going to talk much about it today, but I do want to say the books that are on your seats are basically the most fabulous user experience method that I think we have, which at Google we call Google Design Sprints, very similar to the Lightning Lab method that I'm used to using. And they're not even released yet, so you guys are like getting them before they hit the press, which will be next week. So read them and enjoy. Secondly, some of my family is back here. They actually came here to support me. And they told me not to point them out, so now they're going to be mad at me. And I also want to say, I love being surrounded by women in tech. We don't have enough of them. We need more, so excited to see you. My husband and I were just standing back there a little while ago, and he said, "This is so weird. I'm like the only guy here." And I was like, "Welcome to my world." So I'm really excited to have you all here. Okay, so today, what I'm going to talk about, and again, I've never really done a presentation before about like me and my career, so bear with me, first time. I'm going to talk about something which I'm calling white elephant opportunities. So I was trying to think of a way to describe a little bit of the path that I've taken in my career and what for good and for bad, and hope that it might help you. So how many of you have heard of white elephant parties? Some of you. Oh, good. Okay, a good chunk. Because I've been asking all week with my team, and people are like, "I don't know what that is." Uh-oh. So a white elephant party, in case you don't know, is a party where you get invited, you bring a gift, and then there's like it's also called a Yankee swap for those New Englanders in the room. And there's usually kind of a gift that nobody wants, or some gifts that nobody wants, and then it's a game where you kind of like you can trade the gifts and you barter and you try to get the good ones, and the ones that you don't want are called white elephants. In preparation for this talk, I actually looked up where did that come from, and it came from the king of Thailand back many centuries ago. Used to give white elephants to the people that he did not like. And the reason that he did was because they were sacred. It was a religious symbol, and so they were very valuable in a way, but they were not allowed to do any work. So when you received a white elephant, you had to care for it for the rest of its life, but it couldn't do anything for you. So that's where it came from. So anyways, I thought I would use that as an analogy to opportunities that come along that are kind of unique and that maybe you should not resist. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So what is a white elephant opportunity? So for me, it's an opportunity that presents itself to you that might not be obvious to you. It might be something that scares you, that you feel like, I would never do that. I can't do that. That's like way too much for me. It's something that, in addition to those things, will attract you for some maybe mysterious reason, like, but it seems kind of cool. Like, I wish I was one of those people that could do that kind of thing. And you may fail at a white elephant opportunity, and that's actually a good thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how some of those came from me. So some of you may have seen this drawing before. So this is kind of what people think about when they think about success, and you may have in your heads right now, and I know I did many years back and even today, you have this kind of line in your head, like, I'm going to do this, and then this, and then this, and then I'm going to be like successful. Yay. That's not how it works. So success really, first of all, is something that you personally define. It's something that is very unique to you. And it's going to only work when you feel that it works for you, and it's something that you find on your own. Secondly, being successful is about choosing the right path and the right journey. And the path of success usually does look a little bit like this squiggly line. It's funny because in design, this is the same thing with design. To get to a good design, you need to go through this crazy process where you might end up in places you never thought you were going to. And they might be, a lot of those places might actually be failures in the traditional sense, but they actually move you forward to get to a successful design and product. So, okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about me and how I followed my white elephant opportunities over the course of my career. So this is me when I was a kid. I'm the one in the very interesting looking dress. I was the oldest of 4 kids raised in Southern California, and my family was very Catholic and fairly conservative. I have my first kind of white elephant opportunity when it comes to my career happened the summer after 8th grade. So I was 13 years old. So it was around the time of this picture. And I went to Catholic elementary school, and it ended in 8th grade. It was a K through 8. And it was run by nuns. And my friends and I, we did not like the nuns, and especially we did not like our principal. And so we made a vow that the day after we graduated, we were going to do something, and we were going to make the world a better place and fix all of the problems. So we came up with this plan, and it was actually the night after we graduated, we all snuck out of our houses and went to the school, and we TP'd the school. Meaning that we threw toilet paper rolls all over the trees and the buildings. And the school also happened to be a church, which was Catholic. It also happened to have a rectory, which is where the priest slept. And somehow while we were throwing toilet paper, somebody heard us and ran out, and we saw them and we ran away. And nobody else could be identified in the dark except for me because of my hair. So I got home and I snuck back in my house, and I didn't know what was going to happen, and it was dark, and I thought I was totally safe. And I went up to my bed, which I had, by the way, set up to look like a sleeping person. And I opened the door to my bedroom, and there was my mother sitting on the bed. And to this day, she tells me God told her that she had to come up and check on me. So anyways, I was caught. So the end of the story, which is the important part, is I was grounded for the entire summer that summer, and I couldn't leave the house except for a 10-minute walk, and I couldn't watch TV, and I couldn't use the phone. So I was just bored out of my mind. And my dad was actually a computer programmer. I think I have a picture of him. There he is. So my dad was a programmer, and he was brilliant, and he knew how to build computers and program them. And all over the house, we had these just parts of computers and whole computers. And that was back in the day when you could just build a computer pretty easily. So that summer, I learned about computers. And by the end of the summer, I could build them, I could replace them, I could fix them. I had motherboards all over my bedroom. To this day, I still have my little kit with all my different kinds of screws because it reminds me of my dad. But I learned all of that, and I also learned how to program. So by the end of the summer, I had written 2 really cool programs. One was called ELIZA, which was one of the very first sort of ways to model natural language processing. So it was this program that you'd say, how are you? And it would go, how do you feel about that question, So I wrote one of those, and I also wrote a game called Sneaky Snake, and it was awesome. So that was kind of, this unexpected thing, and I've never been interested in it before that time. So that was my first white elephant. This is me and my dad when I was in college, and the next kind of white elephant came along in college. So I decided to pursue electrical engineering. Anyone in here electrical engineering majors? Oh, some of you, great. Awesome. So I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go to a really fabulous school called Tufts University, and they have a school of engineering. I was the only female in my entire class. And I started taking electrical engineering, and a couple things happened there that really kind of formed my next white elephant opportunity. That some of them were pure luck. For one thing, I did not like electrical engineering. And I didn't like the people that were doing it either. There was all these guys, and they had these groups, and they didn't want to invite me into their groups, and they were sitting around these these iron. Anyways, so I was just like, I don't think this is for me. Oh, what do I do? Secondly, Tufts had a new major then called engineering design, and so that was interesting, and it was part of the engineering school. So I started taking some classes in that, and I thought it was so cool. And then third, that Tufts required that every engineering student took a class called Intro to Engineering Design 101. So I took that. It was a big class. It was like 100 kids in it, students. And they assigned us a design problem was kind of our main challenge for the semester, which was design an oil change kit for a car. So I don't know anything about oil. I've never changed a tire or oil, or I'm not into that stuff. I don't like, getting my hands dirty. But I thought, I'm gonna rock this one. I'm gonna kill it. And I was in Boston at Tufts. My family was in California. I didn't have any money to fly home for Thanksgiving. So I found myself alone on campus for a whole week. And just walked around and crawled underneath cars and did all this research on how does this work? Well, it turns out there's this tank, there's a little screw on the bottom, and you unscrew it and the oil comes out, and then you pour it back in the top. It's pretty simple. So what happened was most of the students I knew, they came up with a design that was like, here's a bin, and there's some stuff like a funnel and some gloves and things in it, and we just put saran wrap around it, and here's my design, right? So I came up with a design that was like, do you know those Pringles cans with a little pop-off? So I thought, well, those are really cool, right? So what if you shrunk one down to this little size like this, and you put in it a big plastic bag that could kind of compress down, that didn't melt, and I researched all of the materials, and you turned it upside down, and you could actually screw it onto the oil tank. Then when you want to change the oil, it would be super easy. You could just pop the thing off and the bag would fall down and all the oil would go in it, and you just throw it out and put your new one on. So I came up with this design and I presented it, and my professor just said, "Oh my God, I have never seen anything like that. That was awesome." And I thought, maybe I'm a designer. So that was really one of my big white elephants. Okay, so this story, this is actually a dialogue box. It's really old and it looks really awful. So the next thing I did after college was I worked for this company called CLSI. It was a library systems company. And I really wanted to be an engineer, but I couldn't get a job yet as one, even though I knew how to program. So I got a job as a customer support representative. So I was answering, the calls, and people would call in with their problems. It was really hard, and a great job, by the way. I loved it because you find out so much about what's going on. So one day a librarian called in and she said to me, she was actually crying. And it took me a while to figure out what the heck is going on. And then eventually she told me that she was crying because she had an error message up on her screen that said a child has died. So for those of you that might not know what that means, our product was written in Unix. And in Unix, the way it works is you guys all know, you're all coders, so you create a process and it's basically a child process has terminated. So I knew what that meant, and I knew what that was. But that really got me going after that call. And I thought, I'm really interested in why. Why would we put this message up to our users? And in the meantime, I had been spending a lot of time upstairs with the programmers because I really wanted to be a programmer. And I was this very strange person to them because I was like this little blonde girl from California. And but I realized that they actually had an opening for somebody to do front-end development. And nobody there wanted to do that because that wasn't cool. That's not the cool kind of engineering, or it wasn't. By the way, that's completely a myth because front-end engineering rocks. It's awesome. So anyway, so I came up with this before, I wanted to become this thing. So I came up with a whole set of user interface guidelines and also patterns, what we call today patterns, about how we should be presenting user interface to our users and how we should be talking to our users. And people were so excited about that they actually allowed me to move upstairs and become an engineer. And I was the only woman engineer at that time there, too. So that was my first kind of real awesome job. So that was my second white elephant opportunity. Then after that, I ended up working at a number of amazing tech companies. So I worked for Symantec, and then I went to Google. So I actually worked at Google about 10 years ago. And that's when I had sort of my next white elephant opportunity, which you might think was working at Google, but it wasn't. So back then, about 10 years ago, Google was a fabulous company to work for, as it is today. And it was, it was already, everybody knew how wonderful it was, and people would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're so lucky." Problem was, Google at that time didn't really care that much about design. It wasn't really a thing. I would say the analogy would be it was kind of like having a strange hobby that you do at night. So people would be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool, but let's get back to work now." So I found it really challenging, and I felt a little bit like I don't know how I'm going to grow here. And then along came another opportunity, which was another white elephant for me, and it was at Yahoo, and it was this huge role. It was leading this very large team of UX. It was a user experience role. It was taking a whole slew of disparate products, bringing them all together into one platform, redesigning the whole thing, thinking about a whole myriad of different users. It was big and it was hard. And I initially was like, I don't even think I can interview for this thing. But I did, and I ended up getting an offer and I took it. So this was another one of those times where part of me was saying, this is way too much for you. And you work at this amazing place and there's amazing food and people and ideas. What are you doing? But I did, I jumped on it and I took it. And actually that job turned into one of the best things that I've ever done in my career. I met so many amazing people. We assembled this team, this user experience team of, I think about 80 to 90 people. And we really rocked it. We redesigned everything. We came up with a fabulous new platform. It was great. So again, something to jump on that you might not think about, or you also might think, I can't. So, sorry, the picture I just showed you was me coming back to Google today. This is what I thought, wearing my Noogler hat. You guys all know about Nooglers, right? You have to wear a hat with this little thing on the top. So anyways, after Yahoo, I ended up moving for personal reasons with my family to New York. So when that happened, and sometimes things happen where you're in this great place, but then something happens out of your control. We moved to New York, and we live in a town right near where my husband grew up, and it's fabulous. But Yahoo doesn't really do that. They have a little office in New York, and it was kind of a career limiting move to do that. And I knew it when I did it. So I started looking, what else am I going to do? What's my next thing going to be in? And again, this opportunity sort of arose that really scared me, which was Chief Experience Officer for Pearson Education. So this is a C-level position, a company with 40,000 employees, a company that was very traditional and very siloed, and kind of in the publishing world. And they were, for the very first time, creating a role that would bring people together across the company and bring all of the UXers that they had together and also build out more and create a centralized team across the company. Again, this was a role that I initially thought, there's just no way. Like, first of all, yay, it's cool. It's really great to have a C-level position for a user experience designer. But I don't think I can do it. But I was convinced by the person that had told me about it to interview, and I showed up at the interview, and it was actually the strangest and scariest interview process I've ever been to, because it was like being on a reality show, and all of the people interviewing, we were all together in a room, and then each time we'd show up for the next round, there'd be less of us. So somehow I got through it. Somehow I got the job. And so I took the job. I worked there for 4 years. This is my leadership team. So these are all the folks that reported to me. We had over 100 UXers. And we built out an amazing team. And actually, I learned so much, maybe even more than I learned at Yahoo, because I was in a place where culturally, UX was not a thing. Users were not that important. Silos and budgets and P&Ls and sort of people's scope of work was what people focused on, and I had to change that. And actually, the way I did it was by using the design sprint method. Was starting to do these collaborative sprints with collaborative groups of people from different silos that might never have known each other, and put the user front and center. So we would bring students in, and we would actually come up with designs, and we would test them together, and then we would iterate together. And there's just no better way to A, learn about design, but B, sort of bring these teams together and start realizing, oh, that's why we're here. We're here because of this 4-year-old kid that can't read yet, and we're trying to teach them. That's why we're here, and that's what our products are for. So it was a really amazing role, and so that was again one of my other white opportunities. When the role ended, and it did, and that was because of a shift in a new CEO and a new shift in focus. And sometimes what happens is companies decentralize and centralize and decentralize. You might have seen that. So that's what happened. I was presented with yet another opportunity, which was to come back to Google, and which I initially thought I wasn't sure about. But what had happened in the years before that is that Larry Page had decided finally that design was paramount to success. And Google was doing these amazing things. Material design, if you've heard of it, is a fabulous new design language that Google created. Design sprints were being used finally, which was so gratifying to me because when I was at Google the first time, I was like, design sprints, let's do them. And everyone was like, what is that? So now we do them, and we do them all the time. So anyways, that all brought me back to being here at Google again, and it's been just truly amazing. I've been here about a little over a year. So, okay, now I'm going to talk about my most important white elephant opportunity. So I have 5 children. 4 of them are back here, along with one of my daughter's friend. My oldest is in college. He's studying wildlife and conservation. I never planned, the backstory here is that I never planned to have kids, period. Like, when I was growing up, and I don't know if I've told my kids this before, when I was growing up, I was like, nope, no kids, no babysitting, no. So when I got married, my husband was like, yeah, I think I want like a couple kids, and I was like, I don't know about this, and then eventually decided, okay, maybe like 1 or maybe 2, and we have 5. So basically, this was a white elephant opportunity. It was very scary. When I was pregnant with my first one, I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't even know if I'm going to like this or if I'm going to be good at it, and then after that, it turns out that we're very extremely fertile, more than 99% of people, and we ended up with 5. So, but I have to say that actually having 5 kids has been the best experience of my entire life, as crazy that may sound. It's actually really helped me in my career. It's grounded me. When I worked at Pearson, I've always had a passion for education, partially because I have kids and I really care about them learning, and the way that they learn is really important to me. I was able to bring them into my work for the first time, and I actually brought them in and used them as subjects in user experience testing. But it's been really just such a wonderful thing for me, and obviously it's the most important thing that I do as a mom. So thank you. Okay, so I'm going to recap. So white elephant opportunities, just so you can start thinking about these for yourselves. So first of all, it's an opportunity that may arise. It's not necessarily obvious, so you need to look for them. Okay, and it's going to be unique to you. It's not going to be something that everyone's going to jump on. It may not align with your perception of success. So you might have this line in your mind, like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. It may not be that. It may be something wacky that's kind of out there. It may scare you, and your initial response may be, I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do that. There's like these other people over here that maybe could do it, but not me. Don't think that way. So take a risk. And sometimes they might fail. I've had plenty of those too, and I didn't really talk too much about them, but sometimes you jump on something and it fails, and that's okay. That's a learning experience for you, and that'll move you along to your next one. And then one other thing about white elephant opportunities is one way to sort of generate more is to find them and give them to other people. This is going to sound a little bit strange, but it's something I think that I'm pretty good at, and I didn't really try to be good, but I'm one of those connector people. If you've read Malcolm Gladwell's books, like I'm always like keeping my eyes out for stuff, and then I'll say, oh, that's really cool, and you over here would be great at that. Bing. And sometimes people are like, go away. But sometimes they say, I never thought of that. And it's interesting because I have someone on my team, a woman who I highly, highly respect. She's the smartest person I think I've ever met. I was talking to last week about this talk, and I mentioned this to her, and she said, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's just like what you did for me. And I was like, what did I do for you? And she said, well, you kept pushing me to consider this thing. And the backstory is that she is actually inventing an amazing new set of research and guidelines for Google that we've never had before around ads. And it's all based on massive user research studies and all kinds of things that I don't even fully understand. And she's created this, but she was a little bit resistant at first with the same kinds of things. I don't know if I can do that. Never thought about that before. But she really is the only person here who could do that. So anyway, she saw it that way, and that made me feel really good. But when you do that, things come back to you. She's doing something really incredible now. There's all these people that surround that I've never met and now are part of my world, and they're creating new opportunities for maybe myself, but my team members and also Google. So it really does come back to you. So how do you find these opportunities? Know your passions, know what you're passionate about, and follow it. Even if it's weird, even if it's strange and you think, I don't know, follow those things. When you start getting really interested, which for me is hard because I'm interested in lots of things, keep pursuing that. And then, say yes. So it's pretty simple. Say yes, try it, do it, and don't hold yourself back. Okay, so I want to kind of just close a little bit with telling you a little bit about today. So first of all, you have some white elephant opportunities in this room. You have a great opportunity to meet some fabulous women and also to hear the panels and the other speakers. We have some great people coming. We have the panel about creating opportunities in tech, which is, I believe, right after this. And then we have the tech and design workshops this afternoon. If you're interested in those, the design side, you'll hear more about sprints, which is great. I don't know what the tech people are doing, but it will be great too, I'm sure. And then in the closing fireside chat, it's Heather Rivera and Minerva Tentico, who is the first CTO of New York City and a woman, and she's coming to speak to us. So enjoy your day, meet people. I'll be around. Come talk to me, talk to my kids, torture them. And thank you so much for listening.